Welcome to another episode of the Antifragility Reframe podcast, where struggles become strength and stress fuels growth. I'm Dr. Frank L. Douglas, your host, and my guest today is Ms. Vaccaro. She is the CEO of Culture Redesigned and a best-selling author. She helps leaders build workplaces where people and performance thrive together. Ms. Vaccaro, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
As I often do, I ask my guests to tell us a little bit about their journey that really framed their need to reframe. So,
Yes, thank you. My journey is the one of an immigrant. I came to Massachusetts 20 years ago from Colombia. And I think part of that need to reframe was the narrative that other people had about me. Like, I feel like I was always being told what I could and couldn't do. And I think my entrepreneurial journey has been one of deciding what I'm capable of and really showing myself and others that we don't necessarily have to listen to the narratives that exist, even if they make sense. So if we're used to them, we can always rewrite or create a new story.
so tell us about the new story that you created.
Thank you. I had been working in the corporate sector for about 15 years, and I feel like I always heard the sort of humanity and high performance as opposing priorities or competing priorities. And the story I want to write is about making them both a priority. You can demonstrate a high level of humanity and ethics while still committing to being a high performer and creating space where every person, regardless of their demographic or their narrative, every person should be able to also achieve that high performer level or label.
So you don't have to be the hard driving, inhuman person to get high performance. So tell us,
Correct.
what are the things that you advise your clients,
Yeah.
CEOs, other leaders? What are
So
the
I,
things?
I I have done a lot of research in the area of signaling and how one, the environment has a strong impact on what people do when they are at work. So, how can we create environments where every person can feel like they can embrace change and embrace improvement? And the other part of signaling is the signaling done by the leaders. Are we sending signals that we have a prototype of success and there is a particular type of person that gets promoted? Or are we sending signals that we have a conviction and we're going to achieve that goal together, but there is no prototype of success? People can come and contribute regardless of what they look like or sound like or think like, as long as there is alignment, there is opportunity to collaborate.
So how is success recognized?
I think success is recognized when the experience of the employee is one of purposeful belonging. I think a lot of times we think a person has to feel like they belong to them, perform, but I think when you contribute, you find a way to belong regardless of differences.
Yeah,
So I
so
think,
often,
yep,
people struggle with not being their authentic self when they are in those types of cultures or environments where a particular type is identified as the type that is expected to be successful and is the prototype of what you should be. And
Right.
so one has difficulty being one's authentic self. How do you deal with that?
Well, I usually try to help people understand that when we are creating that other person to match a prototype, we are spending energy. So we want to use our energy on how to contribute to the mission, not on creating this other person that is not really aligned with who you are. And I think when we are able to show up, and there is a way to show up. I'm not saying you need to, show up as if, in your pajamas. I'm saying you are able to show up authentically and sort of true to your own values as a human first. And then you can find alignment between your core values and the shared values of the organization and contribute. I think that is when people really find the joy and the purpose of work, the fulfillment of work is when they are really contributing from a place that feels truthful to them.
And how do you help people get there?
So there are different things we do. We perform an assessment just to see what type of environment an organization has. And it doesn't matter if you're going to work to an office every day or creating a hybrid or dispersed environment. Culture exists. So, what type of signals are we sending on the language we use, on the images we put on the website and any marketing material, on the interactions we have, and from that point we're able to report back on this is the conditioning you have right now in place. If you want to become more intentional, these are the recommendations that you should embrace. But it's always coming from a place of alignment, from a place of humanity, while recognizing that performance is also a priority. I feel like a lot of times there is this concept that culture is kind of fluff, there is no return on investment. But I do think the opposite. When people care about the business they're in or the company they work for, all the indicators improve: customer retention, customer satisfaction, employee retention. So numbers tell a really good story. So one of my recommendations is usually to look at what the numbers are telling us about the culture.
And your coaching, is it primarily for the leaders or for both leaders and the associates, the employees?
So we have two levels. One is for executives, but the second layer that we have, and we started it last year, is kind of like that mid-level, maybe first-time manager, those
Mhm.
who have been with the company 3 to 7 years, and maybe they get an opportunity, and we have identified that when one employee from that group leaves, the consequences are pretty drastic. It creates overwhelm and overwork for the employees that are left. They now have to hire someone else, train that person. They don't know if they're going to last. So, that mid level program, I think we have had a lot of success just because we keep tracking, was their behavior change? Did they learn how to treat the ones that were before their peers and now they are reporting to them? So that I think that level deserves a lot of attention.
Mhm. One of the things that we really focus on is are the teams becoming stronger? Are they getting better performance because of the interactions and because of the changes we are introducing to improve the culture? Do you focus on that? And if so, how do you measure that?
We do some team analytics. We use predictive index is one of the tools we have. We also have other tools we have developed internally. And yes, in terms of, I think that one of the indicators that we like to use is the level of trust. When trust is high, things can happen fast and at a lower cost. When trust is low, everything takes longer. We saw it during COVID, like companies with low trust, a lot of them didn't make it, but companies with high levels of trust were able to adapt and pivot and, sort of reinvent themselves. So one of the indicators we use is a pulse survey for levels of trust across the team, between the employee and their direct supervisor, and between the employee and the organization as a whole. We've also noticed that with all the technology and AI introduction, a lot of that trust has been sort of eroded by people thinking they're going to lose their job. So
Mm.
are all the managers keeping those levels of trust high, letting people know that even though we are bringing new technology, their job is still there for them. And I know that is difficult to do, but I do think is one of the conversations I've been sort of repeating, having it on repeat. Is I don't know if my job will be here in 2 weeks, and
Mhm.
it's hard to be in that position for anybody. So navigating that aspect will support a manager keeping that level of trust high.
Yeah, one of the things that we look at is collaboration, really working together. What's your experience in the?
I think we usually tie collaboration to trust. Actually, in my book is one of the capabilities that are combined. So when teams have high collaboration, they have patterns of not being afraid of sharing ideas while the ideas are unfinished. And that
Mhm.
is also related to trust. Like if
Mhm.
I feel safe enough that I want to tell you something I'm thinking that is not completely evolved, that's when collaboration can really take place. The same is true for sharing failures or talking about something that you tried and it didn't work. Instead of keeping it to yourself, if you share that failure, the next person is not going to make the same mistake, but is going to try something maybe slightly different. So you can achieve higher levels of innovation if collaboration is kind of like a daily practice.
So as we're about to close, what are two or three of the key principles that you would like to leave with the audience?
Oh, I love that question. I will say that my first principle will be to override our own biases. Our brain is designed to find our in group based on who we are. So I always tell people make that little in group bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, because it just allows us to see the promise of potential in many different versions. I will say have conviction, kind of like you need to know where you are going if you want other people to confidently follow you. So I think we need to work on that conviction. And instead of that hesitation of, I don't know if it's going to work, even if you don't know that it's going to work, having the confidence to go in a particular direction and reroute if needed, but just get there with conviction.
Ms. Vaccaro, thank you very much.
Thank
I
you for
think we have, you are welcome. I think it's really important, your message that humanity and high performance go together and they're not opposed to each other.